For this project, I'm going to show you how to draw the bumblebee. This is a project I typically do with my 7th graders. So I have a finished one here that is done on gray paper because I have them colored in with chalk pastel. And then I have a how to draw worksheet that I just printed off of a how to draw book. And then I'm going to be drawing it on the white paper. That way it will show up better underneath the projector. So what I do is you want to make sure that your paper is going landscape style, which means it's going long ways. Okay, so it's longer on the top and the bottom than what it is on the sides. And I'm just going to go through and just going to do this step by step as we work through. So what I like to do is try to start with what they call the thorax area. So if you look at the colored drawing that I have here, that's this part right here. It would kind of be like the bumblebee's chest. And it's a circular shape. And then they go into the abdomen part, which is more like an oval or an egg shape attached to that thorax part. So I still got to draw the head and the antenna. I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to drop it down just a couple inches. So I'm going to start with that thorax region, which is just a circle. And I'm just going to kind of sketch it out. I'm drawing kind of dark on here so that will show up under the projector, but when you draw it, it's probably going to be better if you draw it lightly. That way, if you make a mistake or you're not happy with how it's turning out, you can erase it, and it's easier to erase a lighter line than it is a darker line. So this would be what we call the thorax, and then we're going to create the abdomen. And it's just like an oval shape attached to that. So I'm going to bring it down towards the bottom of my page and start to kind of round it back up, back to my thorax region, or that chest region of our bumblebee. Just kind of darken that in a little bit, that way it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so we have our thorax and our abdomen. Now the next part that they have kind of drawn on here is the head shape, and then they've got the eyeballs, and then they have like the antenna part. So we're going to go back up towards our thorax region, and up here at the top we're going to make our head shape. And because you're seeing it from the top view, you're not going to be able to see like a circular head. It's going to be just a curved line up above that thorax. And then their eyeballs are going to go kind of like on either side near the top of that head shape that we just drawn. And then the antenna are going to start here in the center, then start to work their way up. And they're just kind of small S curves that start in the center and then just curve up towards the top of our page. Now these antennas on our bumblebees are kind of fuzzy. So to kind of help with that fuzziness, kind of make them look more like a pipe cleaner than kind of like a stick, we're going to end up just adding some V's along the lines of our antenna. And I did that for once, and I'm going to come over here and do this for the other side as well. Now when it comes to these, like these are symmetrical, which means, you know, if I drew a line down the middle of them, the left side is going to look very similar to the right side. And that kind of becomes difficult for students at this age because trying to get the wings to line up and everything else can be difficult. To help you with that, what I like to do is, since this part, that thorax, is a circle, okay, and I know that there's 2 sets of wings on both sides, I'm just going to kind of lightly mark it off. So I know that the wings, okay, they're going to have 2 sets of wings when we're looking at this. They're going to have a top wing that's a little bit longer, and they have a bottom wing. So there's 2 wings on each side. This line here that I've drawn is going to help kind of be that separation. And if I can line them up here on my drawing before I start to draw the wings, it should help me out. So what I'll do is, again, if I was doing this on your project, I would make sure that you're drawing it really lightly. But I have to draw mine a little bit darker so that it will show up on the projector. And I'm just going to kind of lightly draw those lines out. Okay, and they're not completely straight. These are organic, which means they have a little bit of like some curves to them and everything else. This is just guidelines to help me show that placement. Now, the top wing, it will start a little bit above, where I made that mark. And what's going to happen is it's going to kind of go up and create an S curve. So it's going to go up, kind of flatten out, and then go back down towards that line that we drew. So to draw it on here, I'm going to start at that little tick mark that I drew. I'm going to start to, bring it out. It's going to start to curve up towards that top right corner of my paper. And then it curves, and it's going to come back down towards that guideline that I drew. Now, if you drew your guideline all the way out and your wing kind of clips it off, you can go back in and erase it. That's kind of what that line is drawn for. Then I can start to think about, okay, I got to do the top wing on the left side to kind of match it. Now, if you are an extreme perfectionist and you want things to look exactly even, you can kind of take and draw a light line that's going to be erased later across your page to where that wing needs to go. Okay, and it's really, really faint even on mine because you don't want to see that in your finished drawing. I'm okay with mine, just kind of eyeballing it. I know that I need to come up towards that line, kind of flattens, and I need to head up towards my top left corner of my page. So I'm going to start to bring that, curve it around and back down towards, that guideline that I drew. And as I like things in my drawing, I can go back in and make them darker. Things that I don't like, obviously I'm working in pencil, so I can go back through and erase it. So now we've got the top wings. Now there's a set of bottom wings as well. And if you go back to our How to Draw worksheet, you'll notice that they're not as long or as wide as our top wings. They kind of stop here and then angle back down. So to draw the bottom sets of wings, I'm going to add a little tick mark here underneath that initial guideline that we drew. I'm going to start to kind of bring it down away from the body. Start to flatten it out. Now, it's not as long as my top wing, so when I get it to what I feel is a good length, I'm going to start to curve it back up towards that top wing. I want to make sure that it's not as long as the other one I just drew. And then again, if I want to kind of get that idea of how far down to bring that bottom wing on the left side, I can just kind of lightly draw a line. And then I'll know, okay, I got to start below that guideline. I'm going to start to bring it down towards that line that I drew to kind of help me out. Once I've reached that line, I know I've got to flatten it out. And then this one is not as long as the top wing. So I want to make sure that I end it before it becomes the same length as that. So now I've got my top wings, my bottom wings, I've got my head with my antenna and the eyeballs, the thorax, and then the abdomen region. Okay, now if we go back to our How to Draw worksheet, you'll see there's some detail and stuff in the wings. I'm not too concerned about that right now because we'll do that when we go into coloring it. But to kind of help us out in our line drawing where things are supposed to be like black and yellow, because bumblebees have that black and yellow pattern, I want to go ahead and add that to my line drawing that we've done. So if I go back to my colored drawing, you'll see I have as the head is black, then we go from yellow to black, and that's just in the thorax region, and then in the abdomen it goes from black to yellow. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of, drawing that out. So I know that the thorax is black or yellow and then black. So I just kind of want to lightly draw a line to kind of show where that coloring is going to be when we go to do that. And then my bottom part, that abdomen, okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 2 black sections and 2 yellow sections on our bumblebee. So I'm going to need to draw 1, 2, 3 lines to kind of create those 4 separations, those 4 separate pieces. And you want to make sure that when you draw these on your line drawing that you're curving them, and that's going to make your bumblebee appear more round, which is what we want. So I'm going to start on the left side, kind of draw a curved line there. So that'll be my black section. This will be for the yellow section. And then when I make this part here, this last line, it will already create 2 sections left. So then I've got a place for my black, my yellow, my black, and then my little yellow butt of my bumblebee. And then this section up here, this part will be yellow, and this part will be black. Now, what I have in my original color drawing are kind of like 2 highlighted areas. If you kind of want to lightly draw those in to make them look a little more realistic, you can just draw some, light oval shapes. One up here in the top in the thorax, and then one down here for the bottom part of the abdomen. Because the abdomen's a bigger part of the bumblebee, it's going to be a bigger highlight. So there's just for the initial drawing of the bumblebee. Last thing we have to do to add to this are the legs and the arms. And they are made of segments. They're made of different parts. And basically, they're just some rounded rectangles that come out. So they've got these 2 arms that come out, and they kind of come to a point there at the top. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Make sure that they're curving. So there's my rounded rectangle, another rounded rectangle, and kind of where it comes to a rounded triangle. Then the other sets of legs are going to start here between the wing and that thorax region. I'll start to draw them. They're the same concept of those arms that we drew, but they're going to be longer pieces because, of course, these legs are going to be longer than the arms. And they're just rounded rectangles. And then the very end is going to be like a rounded triangle. I want to match that for where it's supposed to be on the other side. Just lightly draw that line. Start to create those rounded rectangles for the other sets of legs. End it with a triangle part there. Then just start to create the other legs. And these are going to be longer too. And they're going to start up here where the thorax and the abdomen kind of meet. They're going to be a little bit longer than that first set of legs that we drew. And that they're still going to end in that like triangular point. Again, I could lightly draw a line that goes across. That way they keep the same, they keep that symmetrical look. So that one side looks like the other. And then finish that off with that rounded triangle. So there it is for the bee.